swagger, okay? Regardless of what happens out there. Doesn't matter. Keep your swagger.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 5-Hole Fantasy Hockey Podcast. We're your hosts today, TJ, Zach, and Raj.
Hey there.
Hey.
Today, it is our first in-season episode after this one just seems like a long off-season, doesn't it? It feels like we covered a shit ton of ground.
It was actually proper length off-season, I guess, for the first time in a while.
And we're always thinking about hockey all year long.
The seasons are changing. There's only 2 seasons, if you ask me. But if you ask Vivaldi, he says there's 4. But there's only an off-season and hockey season. That was a classy, what do you call it? A classy kind of dig. Somebody will get that. But today, what we're doing is this is a weird matchup coming up. So it's like a week and a half. Usually this is when we do our weekend preview, and week previews come out on Sundays. So this one is going to kind of be like a pseudo matchup preview, I guess. They're mostly focusing on the weekend, and then we'll get into the week preview on Saturday, Sunday. We're 5-Hole. You guys can find us on Twitter at FHFH Hockey. Jump in the Fantasy Hockey Discord. New milestone. We hit 1,900 members today.
Yay!
New milestone every time. It is
Huzzah.
Fucking insane. But today we're going to talk 10 tips for the start of the season. We're going to preview the matchup as a whole, remembering that there is still that week preview that's coming out this week on Sunday, where we're going to focus more heavily on the week. There are, in Yahoo at least, there's free ads. That's what I know so far. I don't know if like game 1 rolls around and then it retro. I don't know. Have fun, but don't go crazy. Don't add them all. We're mostly going to be focusing on that San Jose Nashville games that are happening over in Prague.
Crazy.
Yeah. So I guess what I want to do is, first of all, welcome all the new listeners that we're seeing. And I just kind of give like a preview to all the previews that we're going to do this week. Sundays, we drop the week preview for those of you that have like next day ads, fab, whatever. Tuesday, we drop Tuesday Trends, which is a deep dive into sustainability, like buy low, sell high kind of opportunities. And we're talking, is this guy going to continue? Is this guy going to keep sucking? That kind of thing. And with that, there is a channel in our Discord where you can submit players. Like if you're noticing somebody, Jesperi Kotkaniemi got 6 fucking points this week and I don't buy it, drop it in the Discord channel and we'll talk about it. Thursdays we drop our weekend preview.
They're the best episodes. I love me a weekend preview.
They are a lot of fun. It's it's a last ditch effort, and we drop them on Thursdays so you can make ads for Friday. And also on Thursdays, we have a mailbag, which is open-ended. We'll talk about Dynasty. We'll talk about redraft, roto, whatever. If you have a question, hit us up on Twitter at FHF Hockey or drop it in the Thursday mailbag channel in the Discord. All right, some storylines, man. Cam Talbot out 5 to 7 weeks, possible fractured rib. We're looking at Anton Forsberg. We're putting Cam Talbot on IR plus, whatever you have. And we're picking up Anton Forsberg to ride those Winnipeg games. He was pretty good last year. I have relative faith in him. But what we're getting out of him mostly is volume. So if there's a better option by way of volume on your waiver wire, weigh that or hit us up, and we'll give you our opinions there. Matt Barzal signs a big contract, 8 times 9.5. He's playing on the second line right now, so that's a lot of money for a second liner. We'll see what happens there. Dallas opens their season next Thursday against Nashville. A lot of drafts happening this weekend, guys. Where are you at with Jason Robertson? Are you drafting like normal? Do you think this is going to be a William Nylander, Brady Tkachuk situation where there's a holdout? Dallas has talked a lot about pinching pennies, and
I'm drafting him like normal. If you sleep on him, somebody else is going to snag him. And then, they have a better chance of getting him at a, let's just say a better draft number. Don't sleep on him. I wouldn't.
Yeah, not worried at all. Not worried at all. It's not going to last. Of course, they're saying they want to pinch pennies right before they sign him, but he seems to be going at regular ADP in the last couple of drafts I've been in. So
yeah, there's going to be I don't know. In our leagues, they're 12-team leagues, so there's 11 other guys that are thinking the same thing. So just draft him like normal. Victor Arvidsson is back on the ice in LA. Good progress after off-season back surgery, so that's progressing pretty well. Scott Perunovich in St. Louis is going to have shoulder surgery and is going to be reevaluated. There's that buzzword. In 6 months, looking like he's going to be out for the year. That's a bummer. There were a lot of folks that were, in deeper leagues that were drafting him as their end of their D, and now it's just, that's a wasted season. Josh Morrissey is playing on Winnipeg Power Play 1. You got Pionk and Heinola on Power Play 2, so good things for Josh Morrissey. Pretty stoked about getting him in a lot of drafts late. On the Flyers, Cam York gets cut. Did not make the team. What the fuck?
It's hard to believe.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe.
With the state of the Flyers right now. And this is the guy we picked over Cole Caulfield. And he's not making the team. Really fucking weird. It's like the Matt Boldy draft. Man, I think we traded back in that draft with Arizona, and they got Soderblom.
I would love to have Matt Boldy.
All right. 10 tips. Let's get into it. Zach, you're up first. Each of us brought 3 to the table, and we have one that we all kind of want to drill home that we agree on. So let's get into it.
Okay, so I want to start off with the idea that the macro is better than the micro.
Also bigger.
Well, the macro is bigger
Yes,
than the micro.
these are facts.
If we're getting down to it. Moral of the story is, man, it's a long season. You know what I mean? You don't have to treat week 1 like the playoffs. Like, if you drop it, if it isn't going well that week, it's not the end of the world. Don't be making moves that are going to cripple your team for the long run just to win a certain week. Now, I get maybe you really want to win this week. There's times where I jokingly said the other day, I was saying, we're going through these tips and everything like that. And I said, except number 1 is always, you fucking shell out to beat TJ, no matter what you got to do.
Fair enough.
Because I've had years like that where I was like, you know what? It's not going well, but fucking A, there ain't no way TJ's going to beat me this
Fire
week.
sale, yeah.
But in the long run, dude, it's a long, long season. Shit, it's not even like football. You know what I mean? 17 weeks, that's nothing.
Yeah, that's regular season.
Yeah. So like the whole thing is just don't get crazy. It's a long season. If you're down a week, you're even, you start 0-2. It sucks. It's not preferable, but it's not the end of the world. Regroup, figure it out, move forward.
And maybe that's a good time to just look inward, look at your team, see what your deficiencies are, and make like little tweaks that you can do. Stuff your bench with guys that you think are going to help your floor. Whether it's categories, points, whatever. Couple weeks is a good time to start seeing trends, deployment. You can make those moves. All right, my first tip is just set your lineup. Do it at the beginning of the week. Understand where your vacancies are, what days, what positions you have empty. Use that knowledge to guide your hand towards a streamer that fits your roster. We're going to talk a lot of streamers this year. And, maybe one week we're like, all right, go get, I don't know, Tanner Pearson, but you panic or, just blindly do that. You go out and you get Tanner Pearson, and then you set your lineup and you're like, well, he's on my bench every fucking day. And that's not what you want in a streamer. So before you make any acquisitions or drops or anything like that, see where your vacancies are. Know what days you can afford to have somebody in and leverage that against the waiver wire. You use those vacancies to fill those holes, because if you're in a categories league, games played is the most important category. You want to have as many games played, and points leagues too. Like, even if
I was going to say, if you're in any league, if you play in a league, games played is the most important category.
Yeah, you just want to bury your opponent in, games played, minutes, whatever. You want more players, more opportunities, more cracks at the can than your opponent. And doing that is not picking up guys that are going to wind up on your bench, or not picking up guys that you have bench players on. That's the importance of off nights, exactly. You don't want to pick up a streamer that plays on Saturday when you have a full roster anyway, because then you're just benching somebody that you weren't thinking about dropping in order to get your streamer in. So off nights, really, they're important. So the first step to streaming is to set your lineup for the entire week. If you're playing on Yahoo, you're playing on Fantrax, there is that button that just does it for you. Maybe it benches the guys that you don't want, and you can go and do those little micro managing things and fix that, but use that to guide your hand.
Definitely. And there's lots of good tools for figuring out, what days people are playing, where your off nights are.
Yep, we got one. This one I feel comfortable bringing up on the show, the FHFhockey.com/game grid. We have a game grid. You can turn certain days off. There is a script in the background that is running odds on the game, so it gives you an idea of who's going to win a game, who's going to lose a game. It does take a couple seconds to load just because that Python script needs to run through every single game for the week. And after that, you're set. It gives you a score for each week, how likely everybody is to do well. It takes into account back-to-backs, things like that. That's pretty helpful. I love Dauber's schedule planner. Ogar is really good. Daily Faceoff has one too. Plenty of schedule tools out there.
Yeah, your players got to be playing, right? And along with that, I mean, you want to take a look at that usually on a Sunday night kind of thing, and make some big moves early to get your games played. But don't necessarily use up all your moves. If you can, try to save a couple for the weekend, particularly even more so in categories leagues where you can identify certain categories that you might need to catch up on, or if you're tied, you can, if you want to target, say, if you're tied in hits going into the weekend, maybe you want to use up your streamers on hits or assists or whatever category you might need. I find that move to be really important, but a lot more important in categories leagues, just because in points leagues, the biggest thing is definitely games played just in general, because you can load up on whoever you want, right? So long as they're playing, but the categories don't matter. So you can have 5 guys who just get tons of assists, whereas in categories, that's pointless. So in a categories league in particular, make your big moves early to get your games played, but try to save at least 1, maybe 2 for the weekend to play catch up anywhere you need to. And then, you might even find, if you can get away with it and you don't need your pickups for this weekend, that's going to lead into our next point as well, but you're not wasting pickups that way.
I just added that and I was like, but that's Zach's next tip, so I'm not gonna say that one.
Yeah, how are you gonna fuck with me like that? You just trolling me over here. Change the Google Doc as you please.
Okay, so I did have something to add on this one. When it comes to streamers, I think as the roster gets bigger, it's a little bit easier to do this. But I like to have 2 streamer spots, and those important moves, that would be my week-long pickup. I have 2 streamers. One of them is dedicated to somebody that I'm holding for the week. Maybe they fill 3 off nights or whatever. And then my other guy, I'm spot starting. So, say a standard Yahoo league has 4 ads per week. One I'm using for that week-long ad, and if I'm using the second one to fill just little holes here and there, and then maybe saving 1 or 2 for the weekend. Stream strategy. Love it. I almost spoiled it, but yeah, here we are.
You did just a little bit, but thank you for showing some restraint. I do appreciate that, sir. Okay, my next tip is make pickups at the end of the week for the following week. I do that shit all the time. I will pick if I am. It's really if you're up or you're really down. Technically,
yeah.
If you are really going to lose and you're going to lose on Friday, I'll fucking pick somebody up for Monday of next week, because I can get a jump start on next week. And then, if I want to drop that person right away on Monday or Tuesday, it doesn't matter. I didn't waste any acquisitions. I have all my acquisitions for that following week, because all that did was negate the pickup that I made on Friday or Saturday of last week. So I always, if I can, I utilize all my pickups if possible. Unless you just straight up don't have anybody to drop, and still, I'll find somebody to drop, if that's the case.
Yeah.
I like to make pickups at the end of the week for the following week, so that way I can get a little jump start on my opponent.
Love that. It ties in perfectly to Raj's tip right before this one, too. So it's you save some of those for the weekend, and you can either assess on Friday, like Zach's saying, if you're stupid ahead or stupid below in points or cats or whatever. If it's hopeless or if it's sealed, you save those picks, and then Sunday if you have same day ads, you're setting up for next week, or fuck, even do a Friday. Beat the rush.
Yeah, you can do it. That's the whole thing. You can do it ahead of time. I don't care if this person is playing. They can not play on Saturday and Sunday. But you know what? They have a back-to-back on Monday, Tuesday.
Yeah, baby.
I like what you kind of tossed in there too. Like Sunday night, everyone's going to be trying that. If you are definitely winning or definitely losing, I strongly suggest trying to pick up on Friday, Saturday for the following week. Like punt the week or try to win it if you need to. But yeah, like if you can get ahead of the game, because Sunday night is the mad dash for, especially on the West Coast, right? We all stay up till midnight, 12:01.
Yeah.
We're at fuck
you guys.
making the pickups.
Well, yeah, if you got to fold on Friday, that you have an advantage that nobody else has going into the next week, where, say you do have ads left over, use those to your advantage and just get it started for next week.
It's like a man that isn't afraid to die. What are you going to do?
I got nothing to lose, baby. That's it.
Yeah, I got nothing to lose. What are you going to fucking
Just
do?
fall on your sword and pick up somebody for next week. Okay, so mine, I think it's just for like the first couple weeks, because this is all going to come to a crescendo with our number one tip here. Hold your waiver priority. For the first couple weeks, somebody is going to make a stupid move. If you wind up, you had the 12th pick out of 12 in the draft and you got first waiver priority, hold on to that. Don't just pick it up to get Mikael Granlund for these San Jose Nashville games. Just get somebody, get those 2 extra games. Somebody's going to drop somebody. They're going to do something they're going to regret, and you're going to make them regret it. So hold your waiver priority and pick up that diamond in the rough that's going to hit the waiver wire without a doubt. It happens in every league, every year. So just watch out for it. Zach, I dropped Thomas Chabot during his rookie season or his sophomore season, like 3 weeks in, and you picked him up and rode him the whole way. So I learned quick. I think I picked him up to get Anthony Duclair, and I was like, oh, I'm just going to get Thomas Chabot.
I'll just
get him right
back up again tomorrow.
Did not happen. Did not happen. Use that to your advantage. Pick up the guys that shouldn't be dropped at this point, and just hold your waiver priority. Don't just blow it just because you want to make sure that you get Kevin LeBlanc or just hold on to it. You'll know when the time is right, when it's worth burning.
I always seem to end up with at least 1 or 2 of those a year where somebody just fucking drops.
Oh man, this is going to be another year of you just finding gold on the waiver wire.
I hope so. I fucking hope so.
I just picked up Alex DeBrincat.
I just picked up Ruby Hintz.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did get Alex DeBrincat off the waiver wire.
I know.
Yeah, I do tend to luck into that. I don't know why. I got another Cats League tip. Doesn't really apply to points leagues, but in the Cats League, take a look at what your opponent's strengths and weaknesses are, and what your strengths and weaknesses are. And in a categories league, in most formats of categories leagues, it doesn't really matter how many categories you win necessarily. You just got to win the week. So make sure, if there's something that your team sucks at and the other team excels at, just punt that category, which means just don't even try. Just forget about, I don't know, blocks or something, whatever, if your opponent's really definitely got a strength in it, and make your pickups based on that, right? Or I really find, and I mentioned this in this different season preview, sometimes it's better to definitely win 5 categories than maybe win 7. You know what I mean? Sometimes you have to do that. I don't like the feeling of being in contention but maybe losing each category. So sometimes I'll really pay attention to this in the categories league and exploit the shit out of the ones that you can win. Sometimes you altogether punt goalies, just the way the schedule works out that week, and depending on the league setup. But see what your opponent's strengths and weaknesses are in each category for the upcoming week. And I think that's important too, to look at who they're actually playing, because if it looks like your opponent overall is really good at blocks, but then the guy who gets all their blocks only has 1 game next week, don't forget to look at that as well. You know what I mean? Look at their actual strengths and weaknesses for this particular week, not necessarily overall for the whole season, but look at their matchups too. I think people don't look at their opponent's schedule enough. We all are pretty good about checking our own schedule, but take a look at your opponent's schedule. And like I said, if they have all their guys who get their blocks aren't playing that week. Well, shit.
And if you want to do a veteran move, my first tip was set your lineup at the beginning of the week, then unset it.
Yeah.
Unset it, because if your opponent is looking at your roster and he's like, oh, he's only got like 45 games this week, and then secretly you have like 19 games in your back pocket, he's not going to make like those urgent games played ads. So set your lineup, take a look at what your vacancies are in order to make those moves, and then unset it and just, play in the shadows.
That's like getting to the final boss.
Yeah. That's a vet.
That's getting to the final boss. Set your entire lineup and then fucking just start taking people out randomly.
Undo it, yeah. Then just set it as the days go by. But no, I think it's important. You look at those Yahoo projections week over week, and you can see like you were saying, if they had like Brady Tkachuk, Evander Kane, Andrei Svechnikov as their first 3 picks or something, like if they're just sweltering in hits, and you got like a Jack Hughes type team, don't even chase hits. Don't add hitters. And I think it's important too, even in points leagues, with the only category really being just games played. You want to make sure you have more guys than the next guy every single day. Bury them in volume. It's easier to win.
I will say I've been on like the other side of that though, where like I hate people that set their lineup last minute too. And I feel like maybe they are doing that. They're trolling a little bit. You'd be like looking at that shit all day. Be like, oh man,
it's a sure win.
He doesn't have Johnny Gaudreau in his fucking lineup. This idiot. Then you're just waiting all day, and then boom, you look on. It's like 7:01 Eastern Standard Time. There's Johnny Gaudreau just staring you in the face.
The roster is just sterling. It's pristine. Everything is set. It's like we knew the whole time. All right, what's your next one, Zach?
Next up, I have, you got to be willing to take a flyer on people. Like, you got to be willing to shoot your shot. That's how you find diamonds in the rough. Like, if you randomly, and a lot of times I do this by watching the games. So getting that eye data in. Eye data is the best kind of data you can possibly have.
They call it empirical. It sounds so much more scientific. Like, if you just say, I'm an empirical scientist.
I like eye data too. I'm a big fan. In fact, I came up with that 10 hours ago. We're rolling with eye data. We're rolling with eye data.
Love it.
Is it? Hold on. Is that like the letter I? Like it's an Apple product? Eye data or eye data?
No, because I don't want to get sued. I
like it.
But in all honesty, you got to be willing to take flyers on people. Like, you can be watching a game, be like, man, Anton Lundell just keeps showing up more and more every time I watch, or Igor Sharangovich, man, he's on the power play all of a sudden. Shit, I got to take notice of that kind of thing. So these are things that you are going to see that might not always show up on the stat sheet, but you can watch these things happening. So it's like, okay, you know what? I think that Igor Sharangovich is going to get a point or two tonight. He made it up on like he got bumped up to the top line or the second line or whatever it might be. Just using that kind of as an example, you say, you know what? I'm going to pick him up today. I'd rather be the guy that picks somebody up and has to drop him because it didn't work out than the guy that's sitting on the sideline watching TJ picked up the guy that I planned on doing, and I had the chance to do it at 6 a.m. And then TJ swoops in at 9 a.m. and I'm thinking about it, and I go on at noon.
It's already done.
Like, son of a bitch, he's gone. It's like, what the fuck? Be the guy that picks him up and drops him instead of the guy that wishes you did.
I want to add to this one is just have a healthy watch list too. Like, don't think about a guy like, oh, I'll put him on my watch list. Do it. Like, just star the guy, right? And then watch the games of the guys that you have on your watch list. Because if somebody like Igor Sharangovich, like in the middle of a game, gets put on the first line and first power play, you're going to know that before the dorks that are like looking at Daily Faceoff the next day during practice see that he got moved up. Like, watch the guys that you have on your watch list. Take that literally. It's your watch list. Watch them. Like, if Tyson Barrie starts the season on power play 1, and then 2 weeks in, Evan Bouchard gets moved up, right? Like, by then, maybe the Evan Bouchard owner dropped him because he's like, oh, well, fuck, like, I got him because I thought he was going to be, it's not working. But you're watching an Oilers game and you see Evan Bouchard on that power play and you go to add him right then and there during that game versus the guy that's waiting for a tweet, by FHF bot or whatever, and like you're going to be ahead of him. So that's just that. Just watch games. It's fun. Hockey fucking rules.
I would add to that again too, like just to add on. The lineups that you see, like there's a couple of websites that list specifically how much time people play as a line.
Shiftcharts.com is fucking radical.
Yeah, check that out. But like a lot of times you'll see someone tweet like the warm-up lineups or something, and then 3 shifts into the game, it's different.
Looking at you, David Quinn.
Yeah, exactly.
San Jose is going to be a shitstorm this year.
I was thinking the same.
But yeah, like watching games. I mean, it should go without saying. I hope everyone listening to this likes hockey. Watch the games, and that's the kind of thing you pick up. And just like watching a game, you do get also, like if you watch one game, you get highlights and comments about all the other games, and you learn a lot more than just the one game you're watching too. So
yeah,
you hear about little injuries, you see little injuries, you see guys getting promoted and demoted throughout games.
God forbid people go around watching hockey.
Fuck yeah.
We did have a guy last year send me a message who said he won his league by listening to our show and didn't watch any hockey. I don't think that's the norm. I don't think that's a normal way to do it.
It's the anomaly.
I prefer counting from the emergence of one integral anomaly to the emergence of the next.
My next tip is on trade etiquette, especially in the beginning of the year. It's going to be very hard to trade. We touched on this one in our last episode, and I think in the crash course too. These first few weeks, nobody is looking at the performance. They're just blinded by ceiling, and they're going to be blinded by where they took a guy. So, right now I could come up to you and just be like, all right, I'll give you Kevin Fiala for Nikolai Ehlers. And to me, that's an even keel trade, right? So those are 2 guys that have probably the same ceiling, the same deployment, both the same positions, but you're like, no, I took Kevin Fiala in the 4th round, and even if it's like Ehlers plus or whatever, I don't know, hypothetical. They're like, no, I took Kevin Fiala in the 4th round. I'm not trading him for a 5th rounder, and that's how a lot of trades are going to go. People just value their players.
If I wanted him, I could have just taken him.
Exactly, and they're right a lot of the time. Like if I wanted, Ehlers instead of Fiala, I would have drafted him. So there is logic to that. But it's going to be hard. And the Discord is a flutter with trades. So like it's healthy right now for everybody to be trading. But don't trade just to trade. A lot of people like to shuffle the deck more than they like to play cards. And it's just tough to keep trading because you're going to get a reputation as an antsy person and most of the time, not everybody, but I've found that people that just like to trade only like to win trades. And they like to win trades by a lot. So with that, don't be the guy that fleeces everybody. Don't be the guy looking to fleece everybody because you're going to get a reputation. You're going to get a bad reputation. Nobody's going to want to trade with you. So make trades if they make sense and only if they make sense, I think.
That makes sense. You do get the itch to trade, especially if it's a particularly slow, couple of weeks or whatever. But
sometimes you just got to shake some shit up.
Sometimes you do. I mean, it might be a good idea at the start of the season is if you notice someone just biffed the draft and like didn't take any goalies or didn't take any D or something. Maybe there's something there, but
yeah.
I noticed you fucked up. Could I interest you in some Cam Talbot?
Cater to your adversary's needs or your trade partner's needs. Like if you notice their D is not good or something, like Raj, you just did a draft and you said my forwards are dope, but my D sucks. If you notice somebody has like a deficiency and you want something of theirs, be like, hey man, like we can both leave this trade happy. And to be honest, those are the best trades. And that's how you build good relationships with people. Go around, knock on doors. If there's guys you like I did it, one of our guys, Alan, he has Nikolai Ehlers and I really want him. And I was like, hey man, like, is there a chance this could happen? He was like, no. Like I might even be higher on him than you. So I'm not.
The longer you talk, I feel like this is more subliminal messaging that you're just sending out to all these different people.
Alan, trade me
Nikolai Ehlers.
Trade me fucking Ehlers, please. I'll give you anything. I'll give you Caitlin Addison. Come on. All right, Raj, you're up, bud.
Yeah, I mean we've touched on this one.
We're drilling this one home.
Yeah, I mean, we've flat out said this one several times, and it needs to be said again. Maxing out games played is obviously the most important thing. Being active, playing is the most important thing. And that means don't just look at how many potential games played you have, look at the schedule and make sure they're actual possible games played and you don't have, over benching people. But that's the number one thing, right? It's much easier to accumulate stats when there's games. So, it's amazing how many people don't pay attention to that. We can keep hammering it home because it is that important, but it's pretty simple. Take a look at the schedule. Get guys who are playing off nights. Exactly. Off nights.
Yeah, baby.
And a lot of them. The perfect schedule. There ain't nothing like a perfect schedule. I love it.
This one goes out to the guys that did biff the draft. You don't win your league or lose your league at the draft. You can win. Streaming, we looked at all our listener leagues last year, and streaming is 600% more important than your draft. Obviously you want to build a good core, but guys that streamed more actively were 600% more successful.
And some of that draft info I posted to the patrons, that was one of the things. It was a lot of streaming, but another thing that winning teams did have in common is pretty much across the board dedicated streamer spots. So, right, you draft a good core and then you just swap in your streamer spots. Obviously, if you have a good core, you don't want to be swapping it out.
But you always have to have a guy that's on the bottom of your roster.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what kind of roster you have. There's always a guy at the bottom. Now, I get that maybe, you're going to say, well, the guy at the bottom of my roster is not as good as maybe the guy I'm picking up. Yeah, but he's going to help you win this week because he's playing. Because the guy that you have on your roster that you say is better plays Monday and Friday. You know what I mean? Plays 2 days a week. They're far apart from each other. But this guy that you could pick up is playing 5 games this week. So he is going to get a lot more points this week than the other guy. Likely, if he's only playing 2 games that week, he's not going to get picked up anyway, unless he is really that good. I'm not saying you're going out there and dropping fucking Joe Pavelski or something because the Stars only play 2 games this week. But you have to understand where I'm coming from. If there's a guy that you consider not as good, but he plays 5 games and he's going to give you that extra amount of points, then do it up. It makes no sense not to.
If you don't know who your streamer spot is, just wait till these heavy nights. Thursday's got 10 games, Saturday's got 14. Whoever is on the bench, that's your streamer spot.
Yeah, and don't try to make up all these games played in one move, right? You don't have to necessarily get one guy who's going to have 4 or 5 games. If you have that streamer spot, you get a guy who plays Monday, Tuesday, swap him out for a guy who plays Wednesday, Thursday, swap him out. See if you can get 5 or 6 games out of each streamer spot. You don't necessarily have to try to get that all out of one player, right? So I know something Zach preached a lot last year is that Monday, Tuesday, back to back, and then get that guy out of there.
Yep.
Then find someone who plays their 3 games in the last half.
Either that or the guys that play Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. You play 3 games at the end of the week in 4 days. Oh, I want those guys. Those are the guys I want.
All right, the number 1 rule, we've been dancing all around it. It's straight up, just don't panic. You've got guys that you drafted high that they're going to flop for the first couple weeks, that need to get their legs under them, that you're going to be like, holy shit, what's going on here? Do I drop him for this other guy who's doing really well? Am I dropping, I don't know. Am I dropping Mark Scheifele for Cole Sillinger? Because Cole Sillinger had a hot 3 games or something like that. Things like that are going to enter your brain. They're intrusive thoughts. Do not let them win, plain and simple. But there are going to be guys that you drafted at the end of your roster: Marchment, Lehkonen, Kuzmenko, Addison, Bouchard. Maybe not so much on Bouchard because I think the potential, it really is there. But you're going to watch them through the first 2 weeks, and you're going to see if they got that deployment that you're gambling on. Does Addison have the top power play? Is Marchment in the top 6 and on a power play? Is Lehkonen line 1, power play 1? And if those answers are yeah, then you could keep them. But if the deployment flops down, then you can move on and get the next guy, get that Cole Sillinger.
And I think that the panic level or the amount of time before you panic is directly related to history, right? If you've got a guy like Mark Scheifele, who's just incredibly the most ridiculously consistent player, and then he had a slow start. You just know that he didn't all of a sudden just get bad, right? So the guys like that you do have to be patient with. But the flip side of someone like, Kuzmenko is a great one right now. Everyone's really hot and bothered on him. But if he comes out and gets 3 or 4 goals right away and then doesn't score for like a month, that you can get rid of a guy like that. So I wouldn't consider that panicking. But, just take into consideration someone's history before you do panic, right? Because players don't just all of a sudden get good or all of a sudden get bad. They might streak in those directions, but...
Yeah, buddy.
Real quick before we move on, I want to give a quick little shout out to Raj here for his, what I guess we would say, kind of like a backup tip, the defensive streamer.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one. We forgot to talk about that one. The defensive stacking.
Right.
Defensive stacking, defensive streamer. Like, okay, so the idea is, and honestly, I do this. I really do this kind of thing. Say TJ has Hero Kaprizov. I have Matt Zuccarello. We're playing each other this week. Generally, say our points are going to kind of cancel out. You're going to think a lot of those points, they're going to be on similarly. You know what? I'm going to go out and I'm going to pick up a Ryan fucking Hartman right now. So that way, I have 2 players on that line. He has 1.
Or even if you have none.
I'll go get 1 over on him. Or even if I have none, I'll pick up a guy that is going to play on your line and get on your points. So even if you get the goal, I get the fucking assist.
Yeah, soften that blow. So if you're going up against like the Matthews owner, go out and get a Bunting, or if you're, Barkov, go get a Balsers or whoever he's playing with, It's just like stack against your opponent. It does make sense, but again, making sure that they fit into your roster and your makeup for the week. If you can find a guy that hits, that's a defensive stack, it's a beautiful thing. Oh, the weeks that the stack does better, like say, we were talking about Dominic Kubalik before the show. Like, if Kubalik was playing on Kane's line and you did a Kubalik stream because you're playing the Kane owner, and, this is thinking back a year, with the Chicago, but yeah, and then Kubalik goes off and has that 4-point night that we were talking about that you called fucking out of nowhere. It's always better when your streamer does better than the guy you're hoping to piggyback. All right, this one's going to be long. This is not how long our usual week previews are going to be, but the matchup.
Well, we only got one game, or we only have one kind of series. 2 teams.
Yeah.
Not so bad.
So there are overarching like matchup teams to target, but that's something we're going to cover. We're going to record it Saturday night. It'll be out Sunday. There's no games. What is it? There's no games
Sunday, Monday.
And no games Sunday, Monday, Friday, Saturday. The only game that we're talking about is this Nashville and San Jose game. So like there will be a new episode by the time this week is just so strange. There's no games to end the week on Sunday, and then Saturday is this fucking blowout with 14 games. Mm-hmm. So really weird setup. Like we're not going to have the Sunday streamers for you guys on the weekend preview, which is a bummer. Zach, I know you were looking forward to that one, but one game Friday, Saturday, that starts the season. Then Sunday, Monday, there's no games. And then Tuesday is like kind of the quote unquote official start to the season. Wednesday, there's 6 games. Thursday and Saturday are the only heavy nights with 10 and 14 games respectively. Friday's got 4, Sunday's got none. So right now we're going to talk about Nashville and San Jose. With the global series, they do have 4 games each thanks to this global series part of the matchup. But then the next best teams are like Tampa, New York, Montreal, Columbus. So those are going to be the teams that we're looking at Saturday going into Sunday. We'll talk about for the week preview.
I am to understand that Prague is fucking beautiful.
I want to go so bad.
I don't know if I said this on the show yet, but I got hired as a flight attendant. I'm going to be working for an airline now, and Prague is like, damn, that's top of my list. And Grizz is out there in Switzerland too. Like I would love to. Geez, that would be I don't know if I'd make it back.
Oh yeah, Czech Republic would be a fucking awesome place to go.
Prague is the only thing I have saved on my Airbnb is Prague. It's literally the only thing I have saved.
Brussels looks pretty cool too. But next week, St. Louis and Winnipeg only have one game, so we're not streaming from there. Everybody else has got 2 games. There are a few teams that have 3 games with one off night, but again, we're going to get into this more deeply on the week preview. Toronto, Vegas, Washington, LA, Seattle, Chicago. They all have 3 games with one off night. So let's get into it. Let's talk Nashville, San Jose. Who wants to go first here?
Well, do we want to talk about Nashville first? Or we want to talk about San Jose. What do you feel?
No one wants to talk about San Jose ever. Jeez.
I don't really want to talk about Nashville either if we're getting down to it. These are 2 of the teams that I maybe hate talking about the most.
Mine is, I don't like St. Louis.
I know you don't like St. Louis, but man, I hate them. I definitely hate the Sharks more than you hate St. Louis.
They're getting good though. Like William Eklund is a lot of fun. Capo Kakinen, he kind of like started this whole thing because you were huge on Kakinen, and now he's the goalie there. So
yeah, I know. It's actually kind of painful.
Tides are turning. As soon as they get rid of Mark-Edouard Vlasic's contract, you're going to be better. You're going to feel a lot better. All right, I'll go first. I want to talk about Mikael Granlund. 25%. He is in the top 6. I don't know if he's top line or if he's second line. He was second line for a lot of last year, and I don't know exactly how their stuff is going. Their last lines, reported by Willie Dawn each, Forsberg, Granlund, Duchesne, and then Niederreiter, Johansson, and Sherwood. Sherwood was kind of a fill-in, if you want to say that. My guess is that's where Philip Tomasino goes. So I like Mikael Granlund. He could be line 1, power play 1. Good a chance as anybody to score, and he's 25% owned. So like a lot of people want to get in on these Friday, Saturday games because they are the only games that happen, and you'll get a leg up. So if you can use this free ad tomorrow, Thursday, and it won't count against your week, get anybody from these teams. But I guess at the top of my list from Nashville would be Mikael Granlund.
Well, there is actually one guy I like on this team. I don't like, but I've been liking as a pickup for these games, and that is Niederreiter.
Yeah, buddy.
15% owned, so he's almost certainly available. And he's weird. He's the weirdest, streakiest player. He goes from being like a grade in several categories to nothing, but...
You do love you some Nino Niederreiter. You really do.
Yeah, me too.
I always want it to be that month of the year where he's good. I heard him talk in an interview, and he was really looking forward to hopefully playing with Granlund, actually. I don't like to buy into the whole guy got traded, got something to prove too much, but I think he's a good solid pickup. And like he said, like these are almost gimmies, right? Gimme games. So yeah, I do like him as a pickup for sure.
Nino Niederreiter looks like the kind of guy that holds your hair back if you're getting sick.
His social media, maybe that's why me and Raj like him so much more, because you don't fuck with social media. But he looks so cool. Like, look up his Instagram. He just fishes and hunts and cooks. He seems like a cool dude. I like recommending streaming cool dudes. Tanner Jeannot, gonna throw him out there, 65%. Just go check. Riffs like nobody else, like fucking Pantera, and he scores goals.
I mean, I do think that we have to bring up Philip Tomasino, though, here at 8% owned. I mean, it's not exactly sure where he's going to be, but I do agree with you. I think you're going to be looking at a line 2 power play 2. And come on, everybody loves Philip Tomasino.
Yeah, buddy.
Definitely good for a stream. There's no reason not to. I think he's got to get, some time. They don't really have much in the pipeline anyway. They kind of suck. But they always kind of suck, and they make the playoffs and get to, like, the fucking...
It's not true. They took Kamel this year. They got Svechkov.
Yeah, and Kamel ain't going to play this
Zachary
year
Leroux, who's a banger. Yeah, Kamel's not going to play. But, their pipeline doesn't suck. They got Yaro Askarov.
How many of these people are going to be seeing this year? Unless you're going to fucking AHL games?
Probably Cody Glass and Philip Tomasino.
Cody Glass has been an NHLer for the past 4 fucking years.
I'm going to throw out Ryan Johansson out there. Think of these games. Nashville, San Jose. If we're talking like bet your life on it odds, I'm taking Nashville here. I'd imagine that more offense comes out of Nashville, and Ryan Johansson inside the top 6. He's a guy that can dish wherever he's playing. If they do run with these lines that they ran last, where Granlund's on the top line, then you got a line 2, Ryan Johansson. But, he's going to be in the top 6 owned on the top power play, and he's worth checking out.
Ryan Johansson often upsets me, though, because I feel like I always end up with Ryan Johansson on my team at some point in time, and I hold him longer than I rightfully should every fucking time, and then he starts scoring. It happens every year.
I love when you do that.
He's the kind of guy I never pick up.
Just avoid him. He's center only, just assists. He's a categories league like plague. All right, let's do San Jose now. For me, the standout is Mario Ferraro. He's been getting QB2 reps on the second power play there. He bangs. You know, if you're in a points league that counts those things, or if you're in a categories league, Ferraro is the front runner for me.
It's pretty rare that you are going to get a first liner and number one center power play one guy like Logan Couture. But nobody loves Logan Couture anywhere ever, it seems like. So he's 34% owned, but I mean, if he's ugly as shit too. He looks like Diener from Fubar. Or like, I think it was you who said like it looks like a kid tried to draw Sidney Crosby from memory.
Yep.
Is that the guy?
It does look like him.
That's a good one. But yeah, I mean, he is a line one, power play one, center for sure, like 100%. If San Jose scores, he's probably going to be around it. It's just a matter of are they going to score? Like last year, remember the start of last year? They were on fire. And then that abruptly dried up. But you only need them to be on fire for this one game, maybe two games. So
yeah, they were on fire, and people that had friggin' James Reimer just winning weeks out of fucking nowhere because of James fucking Reimer. Oh man, that upset me too. Why are you bringing this stuff back up?
All right, I saved your favorite shark for you, Zach.
Which one is that?
Kevin LeBanc.
Kevin LeBanc. Oh my God, don't do that. I am not going to endorse picking up Kevin LeBanc. I can't do it. He plays on an NHL team.
We're going to get to say this for the first time. He's not a good option, but he's an option. He's getting power play one.
He's available.
He's line two with Couture and Oscar Lindblom, but he is getting power play one exposure. That's his only selling point, really.
Because they're literally the only team playing, I'll give you this week for Kevin LeBanc.
Yeah, I promise I won't bring him again.
I think Luke Kunin should be on that power play one.
Well, they have been cycling in and out, and Kunin hits like crazy and pims like crazy. I had him in the Bang Streams segment later on, but yeah, 5% for Luke Kunin, left wing, right wing, taking reps on power play one, kind of like sharing that spot with LeBanc. So that's a gamble you can take. I do like Luke Kunin better just as a person, but
I like him better as a pickup, to be honest.
Anybody that's hoping for William Eklund, he's been practicing on the quote-unquote fifth line, so I'm not sure he's going to really
that sucks
play this year. I haven't heard anything about him, so I don't know what's going on with him, to be completely honest. He has been practicing, but on the fifth line, so that's that. Okay, goalie streams, man. You're not getting your hands on UC Saros for either of these games, so we're talking Kevin Lankinen at 2%, James Reimer 22%, Capo Kakinen. It's a back-to-back, so it wouldn't surprise me to see Saros play both games. They've done that to him before, and there's a couple games of rest, so maybe they do it. And there's been a whole offseason of rest for him, so maybe they do it. But Lankinen did look okay in preseason, so maybe they play Lankinen too, just see what they got. You know, it's a Prague game. Maybe they want to give him the opportunity to play. Out of Lankinen, Reimer, Kakinen, all available. Lankinen at 2, Reimer at 22, Capo at 10% rostered. Who would be your number one pick here?
Well, unfortunately, I think that James Reimer is going to start he's going to get the start. Now, he's going to get one, and I would think that Capo Kakinen is going to get the other. I do believe with you that UC Stars is most likely going to get both of those games. They don't play until Thursday again of the following week. So they don't play until the 13th or something it is. So they have a lot of days in between. Now, understandably, that's a long flight back to the U.S. from the Czech Republic. So I get it. But at the same time, you know, I think that either James Reimer or Capo Kakinen has got to be your answer, because I don't see Lankinen even getting a start.
He could, but yeah, it's less likely.
He could.
I'm down for Reimer personally, but
if you are spot starting one of those guys just to do it, you're dropping them right away, because they also don't play until, they don't play until Friday of next week, so even longer.
Yeah, I think that's the play. If you need early goalie starts, or if you're in a points league and just want to stack volume, that's the way to go. All right, our bangers, the guys dealing out the riffs. Ryan McDonough for Nashville. He's very block heavy, but he does hit a little bit. We talked about Ferraro.
Love Ferraro.
We talked about Kunin. He's hit some pims. Is there anybody that you guys have your eye on for the riffs?
I think Carrier, Alexander Carrier is a good option. Blocks and hits. It's a chance to get ahead, especially on stats like this where games played is what gets you these things. Like, especially with like scoring, you may or may not score, but guys who hit and block always hit and block. So definitely worth picking up any of these guys. But I like Carrier for that. I should say for that. I don't like him overall, but I like him for that.
I'm big on the Luke Kunin. I'm all the way down for Luke Kunin, especially for these first two games. Because at the end of the day, most likely you have to imagine that some of those skill things aren't going to travel halfway around the world as well as hitting people. Luke Kunin is going to be able to hit somebody anywhere. Your offense is likely going to go down a little bit, or at least that's what I would guess.
All right, that's it. That is the first matchup preview. We're going to be back at you guys on Sunday. You'll see us in the feeds if you're subscribed. We'll have like another week preview, and then Tuesday trends. There's not going to be any trends because there's 2 games that happen between now and Tuesday. So on Tuesday, I'm just going to give a primer on like certain things that we look for, like a sustainability 101. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but it's just going to be a bunch of stats. And then we got your weekend preview coming at you on Thursday. So back into the end season. We're happy to be with you guys. Thanks for listening. We love you.
Love you.
Love yous.